Well, good morning, YouTube. All right, guys, we're working on a project here in the trailer. I've already started it and didn't record it, but we had a situation where one of the latches on the internal lift was starting to become compromised, and I've been watching it and monitoring it for a while and decided that something we really needed to fix. So as you know, we've got the lift inside the trailer. All of our motorcycle lifts are on top of it, and this raises up towards level with this ceiling. When we're traveling down the road, there is a lot of weight on this lift, but the motorcycles go down below and we have to have it up in the air when we travel. So there is a safety latch system on here that's designed to stop it from falling. So here we have these blocks, and you'll see that they catch on these welded in nubs on the track. Now they're spring loaded and there's an arm here. So when we pull the lock mechanism here, as this rotates out, it pulls the rod, which pulls this down. Now it's angled, as you can see. So when it's down, it misses the lock. When you release it, it springs back into place and it can rest on that latch. Well, there's one of these lock mechanisms on all 4 posts of the lift. 3 of them have not had an issue. The one in this corner, however, is a different story. The shaft started to bend. And there is a little bit more weight in this corner because this is where the lifts are. And these lifts are stupid heavy. I mean, there's a lot of stuff over here too, but they are shifted to this side so that we can fit other stuff over here. So this is probably the heaviest corner of the lift. Now, if you look the whole assembly, there's a 3/4 inch shaft here, and it's got these collars on it, the lock, and it goes through. There's a pulley on the back side with the cable, and that's what holds that whole assembly together. Same thing over here, but as you can see, I have it all removed at the moment. All the weight of that corner of the lift is on these 2x12s and that big chunk of wood at the moment. So the shaft on that side that was holding everything together has become compromised. You guys can see it's pretty well bent. It has been bent for a while, but it's kind of slowly, progressively gotten worse. Now, I don't know what grade metal this is, but I know it wasn't strong enough for our use. So my original thought was to find another piece of 3/4 steel, but then all I can find locally is just mild steel. And well, at the minimum, this is mild steel. I have a feeling it's probably more of a chromoly steel, but I don't, actually no, I think chromoly might have broken. Anyway, you guys that are metallurgists out there, let me know. I don't know how to tell what grade it is, but I was looking around and I thought, try to find something, and the best I could come up with is a grade 8 bolt. That might be grade 5. This might be way stronger. If that's grade 8, then we're kind of equal. I was thinking about pins, right? These are for another use. But I was thinking about something like this that I could just kind of cut the head off of or whatever. But all I can find in tractor pins and so on and so forth is grade 5. And if I have the option to do grade 8, I'm going to do grade 8. So we're going to try to replace the whole assembly with this. We'll actually be able to eliminate 2 of those collars because we've got a head and a washer and a nut and a washer. We'll Loctite the crap out of it. But in theory, this should be plenty strong to handle what we're going to throw at it. So up here, I have all of my parts and pieces that I took apart in order of disassembly. And this right here is actually part of like that plastic cover that has been broken. So that's not even going to go back on. It's absolutely useless at this point. So I think I'm going to run the head of the bolt towards the front of the trailer because we do have this that we could interfere with. I don't think this is long enough, no matter which way I do it, that it's going to interfere. But one, I just think it'll look better. And if we do have any excess sticking out, because this bolt is longer than that shaft assembly, but it has to be if we want to be able to thread a nut onto it. That shaft assembly is 7 inches. This usable length, well, from the bottom of the head to the end of the bolt is 8 inches. So we got 1 extra inch, but we also got to have room for that nut to fit on there. So it should all work out, I hope. I'm going to double check, make sure this fits in the hole, and we'll start moving forward, putting it back together. All right, shaft fit check. It works. It's actually a little bit sloppier than the original shaft was, but not by much. And actually, no, it's no more sloppy than that was. All right, so I don't have the nut in the final washer on there yet, but that looks like it's gonna work just fine. Puts everything where I need it. We got a little extra bolt hanging out there, but that shouldn't interfere with anything. And if it does, I can always just cut the end of the bolt off. Now I've got 2 of these lockdown collars left over that I don't need, because that bolt has a head on it and a washer, and this side is going to have a nut and a washer, and those 2 were just the ones on the ends to keep everything from sliding apart. Now I can still lock down the ones in there, and when I put this nut on there, I'm going to be real generous with the red Loctite, because I can't actually torque this down, otherwise this won't swivel. So I've got to leave it just loose enough, and I wasn't able to find an actual nylock that would fit this 3/4 inch bolt. But what I can do is put one of these back on afterwards and tighten down the set screw. That would also keep this nut from backing off if necessary. But I think that's going to work. So the things that have to pivot, such as the pulley and the lock itself, I'm going to take it back apart. I'm going to put some grease on the bolt before I put it all back together, and then this project should be working. Okay, all lubed up, copious amounts of Loctite on the bolt back there. Plus I put one of those lock collars to actually be able to tighten the bolt to it relatively snug, and that still keeps just a little bit of play in that pulley so we can work when the cable's working. Still got free play here, and everything is actually nice and tight. Tighten down all of these lock collars to keep everything from shifting. That should be done. Let's raise the lift up, make sure it all does what we want it to do. All right, you can see that as we raised the lift up, the lock caught and flipped and went right into where it's supposed to go. So we should be able to lower the lift down and put the weight on the block. All right, well, it looks like that was all a success. So we're gonna call that done and good. Now, there's a couple more things I want to do to this lift. You'll see up here, there's like this eye bolt that the rod runs through. Well, the one in the back has gotten broken off. So I picked up a couple of new eye bolts, a little bit heavier dutier from Tractor Supply. I'm gonna try to put those in just to keep that. And it's just really there as a guide to keep this rod from sagging and falling. Keeps it somewhat in line, I guess. All right, that's all done. Pretty quick, easy project. You see I used a coupler nut on here just to kind of space it out. Lots of red Loctite on the back, and now that is secured in there. Now, to get it on, I had to unbolt it at that end, and I was able to slide this eyelet over. But the eyelet that was on there was actually a little bit smaller, and it wouldn't slide off. So rather than undoing my Heim joint end and then having to readjust it to the right length, I just took the cutoff wheel and just cut through the old eyelet, and it just fell off that way. I didn't have to do any adjusting because everything is adjusted properly. Anyway, that project is done. On to the next one. And that's where these big son of a guns come in. And I'm not sure how I want to do this. So, all right, we've explained the whole lock system to you. And as of right now, that lock system is all that holds this lift up. There are holes in the side of these lifts on the post. And most internal trailer lifts have a pin. My old one in the old trailer had pins I could slide through there, put cotter pins in them. That way, if this lock system failed, there was something else to catch it. And this trailer doesn't have it. Now, I say it doesn't have it. There's a sign right here that says, warning, no riders, all pins and locks must be in place and secured before transporting cars or standing under lift. Never got pins, never found pins for it. I looked in the manual that comes with the lift that I have. Doesn't say anything in there about pins. But because we see a possible failure point in what we just repaired over here, I'd like to add some redundancy to it. What I don't like is the position of the pin holes. So you see there are 2 holes here. There's one down there, and there's one up here. Well, I can't put a safety pin up here because, well, the whole mechanism on the inside is there, and there is no way for a pin to go through the whole thing. I think that's more or less there so you can get to the bolts that hold all this together. If I put one down here, we still got, I don't know, 6 inches or so that the lift could actually fall before that pin catches it. So what I was thinking about doing is drilling a hole just underneath the actual lift piece itself and putting a pin in there. Now, here's where some of the trouble comes in. That 8-inch bolt I used over there is as long of a 3/4 bolt as I can find. The holes that are in this are 3/4 or just slightly over. But that post is exactly 8 inches. So the bolt from the head down was exactly 8 inches. No room to put a nut on the end of it. It wouldn't have come all the way through the assembly, and that's even without any washers. So I thought about tractor pins, plus to get the cotter, so it makes them quick and easy. Here comes the next problem. In 3/4, I cannot find them any more than 6 inches. Obviously, I need an 8-inch working area, so it's got to be longer than 8 inches. Now, these have an 8 1/4, 8 1/2 working area, but they're 1 1/4, so I'd have to drill them out bigger to make them work. And on top of that, all of the hitch pins I can find are grade 5. I'd rather have a grade 8 in this as well, but I figured if I go up to an 1 1/4, even if it's still grade 5, it should be plenty strong because of its girth. It's girthy. Now today, the Tractor Supply only had 2 of these pins, but it's no big deal. It's a regular stock item. The trailer's not going anywhere for a couple of weeks. If I can make these work, then I can just go back and get 2 more when their AI system reorders it. I talked to the guy, so they could probably be here by Thursday or something, or maybe even early next week. If not, I can find these readily available online. I just got to decide if this is really what I want to do. Yeah, so I don't know. Pros and cons. I don't really want to go drilling this anywhere I don't need to. I'd even thought about using the 3/4 holes that are already there and then making a bracket that had like a square tubing that the pin would go through, that just had like a 1/2-inch piece of steel that went up and wedged underneath the bottom, so that it would still act as, you know, a deterrent from falling, but without having to modify any of this. And I may still consider that. I bought the pins, feeling it out. If I don't like it, I can always take the pins back. See, that would work. I mean, it would be up higher, right up here underneath that. You know, and in theory, if I could find these in 1 inch or the 1 1/8 in a grade 8, what I would actually do was position them in a spot where when I release the hydraulic pressure from the lift itself, all of the weight would rest on these instead of those locks. And then the locks would be the redundancy. I think it would be stronger that way, a lot stronger. Just got to find the right pins to make it work. All right, well, I've been doing a lot more thinking on it. I got online, did some more research. What I don't like about the 1 1/4 inch pins is just they're so big. To drill a hole in the side of this to fit the 1 1/4 inch pin is going to take up more than like 75% of the surface area here. The 3/4 pin, no big deal. I've still got 1/2 inch on the other side and then some. The overall outside of this, that's including the bend radius and the thickness, is only 1 3/4. Now I can fit this 1 1/4 pin inside there, and there's room to play. But we're taking some of that strength away there, and I'm just not sure that that's what I want to do. Online, I cannot find anything that's 3/4 of an inch or even up to 1 inch that's 8 inches long or more with a pin type setup in it, because this would just be convenient. I could tie a cable to this into that so that I never lose the pin. We can just pull cables, pop the safety latches out. That's how the old one worked. But here we're having an issue. So I tried reaching out to Fastenal, and I can find on their website, I can buy a 1 inch bolt by 9 inches long. Now I don't want to have to get in here with a ratchet and a wrench and tighten things down every time I want to clip, but I might be able to just drill that bolt out at the end and put a pin in it, and we still get grade 8 that way. Only go to 1 inch, would be skinnier than this. I think it would be safe to waller that out, you know, the extra 1/4 of an inch, but not a whole 1/2 inch. So I think I'm going to wait on this. Our Fastenal is only open limited hours here. And so they're only open from like 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then they close, and then they're open from like 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. and then they close. So they're only open 3 hours a day because the guys that work in there also do other things. So maybe just need to get a hold of them first thing in the morning see what they can't order in for me and maybe make that work. All right, guys, when we last spoke about this project, it was actually a couple of weeks ago, and well, we were talking about putting these pins in the lift, and that these were 1.25 thick pins, and I was worried about making the hole too big for them. They kind of just make it, but not sure that I wanted to go to that 1.25. This is what I did. I reached out to my local fastener, and they had to special order these, but I got some 1 inch by, I think these are actually like 10-inch bolts, grade 8. Remember, that was the big thing with these, is these are 1.125, but they're only grade 5. These are 1 inch, but they're grade 8. And when you do the math on it, these are stronger than those, and I don't have to drill as big of a hole to make it work. Problem is, no pins in it. So we're gonna see if we can maybe drill a hole in the end of this. Again, grade 8, it's not that easy to do, but we're gonna try anyways. And then they should fit in. We'll have to drill a 1 inch hole, but now we've got plenty of length to fit through that. Put a pin in it. Now what I'm thinking to make the drilling easier is I think I'm gonna grind flat spots into threads. That way I've got an opportunity to get my drill bit to locate center. We'll do it out towards the end where it doesn't affect the actual thickness of the load bearing part of it. And yeah, we're gonna give that a try. And hopefully that'll make drilling this a little easier because we'll have a flat surface. All right, since the post on the lift is 8 inches overall, I made sure to mark these so that my tape ends at approximately 8.25 inches. Gives me 1/4 inch of leeway. Whatever modifications I make to this will be to that exposed, untaped area where I can grind a flat spot in it, drill it, and then maybe even taper the edge a little bit to make it easier to locate in the holes. I've added a grinding stone to my grinder. We're gonna go grind these flat. All right, guys, well, there we go. I was able to drill the hole through and get a pin in it. Now, it was a little troublesome. I had to drill very slowly. The first drill bit was really small, and it wasn't super sharp, but it made its way through. The problem with small drill bits is you gotta be careful not to put too much pressure on them because you'll break the bit, but you also want to drill kind of slow and steady. Steady, firm pressure is what's key. And realistically, what I need here is a drill press. And you know, had I had time to do this at home would have been great because I have a drill press at the shop. I don't have one out here on the road with me, so we're doing it the hard way. But it looks like it works. Now, the second drill bit that I used, I got about halfway through and it just stopped drilling. It instantly dulled out. So I had to step it up one more size and I was able to get that one all the way through. But who knows how long the sharpness is gonna last on these drill bits. I may even have to go out and buy a couple more drill bits to complete this project because remember, this is grade 8. It's hard stuff, so it's not easy to work with in cases like this. But now I gotta do 3 more. All right, guys, I got all 4 of them drilled. I only have 2 of these hitch pins right now, or lynch pins, whatever you wanna call them. So I do need to get a few more for sure. But that was a job, let me tell you that. Between having drill bits that weren't exactly the sharpest, I had to put a lot of pressure on some of them. It actually wore me out trying to drill them. Even the grinding wasn't easy, but it's done. Like I said, I may taper these or even grind some more of the threads off just so it slides through the holes easier. I don't know it's gonna be an issue just yet, so I'm not really focused on it until we get the holes drilled in the lift, where they're gonna go, and then we'll just kind of see how it all fits together and make that decision. So now, I gotta measure where I want them to be on the lift and make my marks. So once again, as you look here, I want them to rest right underneath this piece, but when there's really no weight on these locks right here. So I want to slightly unload these and then mark where the hole's got to go, so that when I bring the lift down, it rests on our pins, and then these become the secondary backup rather than the primary. And I think the best way for me to do that is to go ahead and raise the lift up until the weight just comes off of the safety latches, and then use a square up underneath that bracket to try to mark lines where I want the top of my hole to be. Then I can measure down the inch or inch and a 16th, whatever it is I end up drilling them to make those bolts fit through good, and then make a bottom line. And then I just got a center between that to drill my holes. And in theory, that should work. Should. Probably. All right, well, it's been a couple of days, and I went out to the store and bought another unibit, actually 2 more unibits. Unfortunately, I could not find a store here in Panama City Beach that had a 1-inch drill bit. I actually looked online, and the Home Depot said that they had a 1-inch contractor drill bit that was, you know, the black oxide, good for drilling through steel. I get there, it doesn't exist. The only 1-inch drill bit they had was for concrete, and well, that doesn't work on steel. So we are trying another unibit, and hopefully it'll work. We don't have that much further to go. We're already at about 3/4 of an inch. We just got to get it to 1 inch. So let's give it a try. Guys, now we're packing up here in Panama City Beach. We got the lift up, it's loaded, and everything worked out perfect. The pins are in place. The weight of the lift is actually on those pins and not on the safety latches anymore. All 4 of the safety latches have 0 weight on them, but all 4 pins have lots of weight on them. So yeah, we got the redundancy in the backup. If one fails, the other should catch, and all the stress is on the heavier duty parts, not the lighter duty parts. All right. That should fix everything. All right, guys, this project is done. It was kind of a pain in the butt, and it's been the course of like a week and a half to get it all done. Not really, it's been done for days, but this is the first time we've been able to put the lift back up and put the pins in place to show you, and the lift is loaded. So at this point, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Until the next time I see you, keep those ninjas running.